Hey guys, we're going to do a review on the three different cycles that we've studied in this unit. And the first one we're going to talk about is the water cycle. In this first question, it says name a cycle that involves all four of the Earth's spheres. Now if you remember back to our notes, all of the four spheres contain nitrogen and water and carbon. So you could find nitrogen in the hydrosphere, the biosphere, the geosphere, and the atmosphere. They're just in different forms. Okay, same with the water cycle and same with the carbon cycle. Okay, on this problem, it says draw and label two arrows for processes driven by gravity. Now, if you remember, there are two things that can drive the water cycle. One is gravity, and the other one is the sun. Okay, so processes that would be driven by gravity, or the pull of gravity, would be precipitation. Okay, precipitation is when the water droplets get too heavy in the clouds and they fall down to the earth due to gravity. Runoff is another example. Water will run off the streets and down into the storm sewers or down a hill and run into the rivers. Another one that I thought I would just add in there also is infiltration. Infiltration is driven by gravity. The water sits on your grass and it will fall down into the groundwater. Now, processes that would be driven by the sun would be evaporation and also up here in the clouds where we get condensation. Okay, both have to do with the temperature. When water gets too warm, we get evaporation of water molecules. When water gets colder, we get condensation of gas water that turns into liquid water. Okay, this next problem is to define the word transpiration, words and an image. Okay, so transpiration is one that might be a little bit newer to you. Transpiration is the process of water that's in liquid form, and it's in plants, and it's being converted to gas form or water vapor. Okay, so inside of plants, like a tree here, there's liquid water, and when the plant gets hot, okay, some of that water will evaporate from the leaves, okay, and that water will go from the tree into the atmosphere in the form of water vapor. Okay, it's very similar to evaporation, only it's happening in plants. Next question is, which environment would have the greatest amount of runoff and why? Well, the answer is urban areas have a lot of runoff because of what's called impervious surfaces. Impervious means that water can't go through it. And so areas that have buildings and parking lots and streets, all that water cannot run down into the soil like it naturally is supposed to. And so it runs off the surface and down into rivers and sewers. Okay? In a rural area, you have natural ground cover like grass and bushes and trees and things like that. That natural ground cover can allow the water to infiltrate into the soil, and then that goes down into the groundwater, and it helps to replenish the groundwater supply. Okay, name the water cycle process where water vapor cools in the atmosphere and becomes liquid water. That process is called condensation. It's turning from a gas into a liquid because the air is getting colder. What causes and drives this process in the water cycle? That would be the sun, not gravity, be the sun. Okay, next question. Which of the following would be an effect of increased impervious surfaces? Circle all that apply. Okay, if we have more impervious surfaces like parking lots and buildings, we're not going to get an increase in infiltration. That would go down. Polluted water would be increased because all that runoff goes down into the riverways, and if it's carrying some pollutants or if it's carrying any kind of toxic chemicals, that all runs down into the waterways without getting filtered out or infiltrated through the process of infiltration going into the ground. So you end up with more polluted water that way. The more impervious surfaces you have, the more flooding you're going to get because the water doesn't really have any place to go. You'll get increased runoff. You'll also get increased erosion, okay, because that water is going to be moving faster and it's not going to be absorbing into the soil. It's going to be running off and moving quickly and eroding surfaces. You're also not going to have increased precipitation. Precipitation is not affected by impervious surfaces. It's got nothing to do with it.